Come on in. Welcome to Idled Out, where we talk all things Survivor. My name is Luke, and today we're talking about Survivor players who were ejected or disqualified from challenges by Jeff Probst. I'll be honest, there have been shockingly few players thrown out of challenges throughout Survivor history. Hundreds of challenges ran by Survivor's nearly 700 players across 24 years, and by my count, there are only 7 players who were ejected from challenges by Jeff for getting too rough with the other players or the challenge itself. It doesn't sound like much, but you know me. I love to count down Survivor minutia. A little housekeeping. For this video, we'll be going chronologically, starting with Survivor's early years and going all the way through the new era, so these aren't ranked in any meaningful way other than the order in which they occurred. And I won't be including players who inadvertently, got themselves disqualified by accidentally breaking the rules, or challenges where players are eliminated one by design. I'll only be including players who were ejected from challenges by Ref Jeff for intentionally breaking the rules. So, Frank accidentally getting disqualified from the Final 8 challenge for touching a rope in Survivor Africa, for example, won't be included since that was a complete accident. 7 players have been thrown out of challenges across Survivor history, and I want to count them down. So put on your stomping boots, get into the attack zone, and join me as we talk about the Survivor players ejected from challenges by Jeff. At number 4 is Ken, Rob, Stephanie, and Jed, who are all kicked out of the Pilfering Pirates challenge in Survivor Thailand. This is the infamous Attack Zone Challenge, where players from 2 opposing tribes must navigate a floating bamboo obstacle course to retrieve items from the other tribe's boat. This is a no-contact challenge except for the attack zone, a clearly marked area in the center of the course where players can engage each other physically and try to push their opponents into the water. I repeat, you must be in the attack zone to touch another player. Attack zone. It's the zone where you attack. You have to have a foot in the attack zone. Got it?
No! Rob, you were not in the attack zone when you grabbed Clay around the throat.
Sukjai had an early lead and almost certainly would have won this challenge if more than half of their tribe didn't get disqualified by attacking players outside of the attack zone, with Ken becoming the first player in Survivor history to get ejected from a challenge for breaking rules. Jed and Stephanie both follow Ken, but this challenge is most remembered for Rob's ejection, where he just choked out Clay and threw him in the water. I love how Rob knows he was cheating, but then tries to sneak his foot into the attack zone, as if choking out an old man would otherwise be a-okay. Honestly, this challenge is just poorly designed, and the attack zone is simply too small, meaning Jeff is constantly having to monitor players' toe placement like he's some sort of WikiFeet admin. My favorite part of this challenge is that afterwards, Rob complains that they lost the challenge to, quote, a bunch of rules, then makes fun of Clay for not being able to breathe while he was getting strangled.
He's a weak little whiny punk. Backwoods hick. Did you hear him? Screaming at me, dude. I wanted to spit in his face.
Crazy that this guy is one of the more likable people on this cast. At number 3 is Ben in Survivor Samoa, who was ejected from the Schmergen Brawl challenge. This is a challenge so violent they only ran it twice, and it's been retired because it resulted in serious injuries both times, including an attempted assassination on Mike Barassi's heart. In the challenge, 3 players from each team are in a pit fighting for control of balls that they must get to shooters on a platform, who have the opportunity to score a point for their team by sinking a basket. And right out of the gate, this is a full contact sport. This challenge is such an outlier in Samoa. The rest of the season's challenges are like bowling and bocce ball and plinko. Then you have this one where players are making full contact hits with each other without any protection, like they're Boston Rob and Amber on an All-Stars reward. After Shambo tries to break Liz's face, Jeff gives them a very rare warning. It's like when mom says you're roughhousing with your sibling too much. Okay, we've got the warning. We'll turn the temperature down on the challenge.
A big battle on the ground. Ben, stop! Ben, out of the challenge. First time in the history of Survivor, somebody's been pulled out of a challenge.
Well, that's not true, Jeff. Didn't you watch this video? If you haven't seen Samoa, this tracks for Ben. This guy was hot-tempered, rude, and made some pretty racist remarks to Yasmin, and he was such a toxic prick that it was even too much for Russell Hantz, who cut him loose the next episode. Too toxic. For Russell. Not only was Ben ejected for injuring Russell Swan, but this challenge also nearly killed Mike, who was medevaced right after it. Somewhat surprisingly, they brought this challenge back again the following season, and it again got so violent James received a leg injury that not only got him voted out of the game, but the injury continued even to the reunion show. Following all of these injuries, Jeff went on record to say that this challenge is officially banned from ever being ran again. Sounds good. Okay, now can someone break their leg during the after show so we can have the live reunion back? At number 2 is Val in Survivor San Juan del Sur, who was ejected from the Sumo at Sea challenge. This ejection didn't make air, but Val spoke about it in her exit press with CBS.com. The original page is no longer up, but thanks to the magic of the Wayback Machine, we can see the highlights from the interview. Most relevant to this video is that Val said that she was ejected from Sumo at Sea for excessive elbowing, similar to how she was ejected from the game for excessive idling. Now, I can't say for certain that Val is the only player ejected from a challenge in a segment that we didn't see on air, but I did a lot of research and I'm pretty sure. But if you know of more, please let me know. We actually see this heat against Natalie in the episode, and it's edited as if Natalie beat Val fair and square. So they either just DQ'd Val and had them finish the battle anyway to make it look like Natalie won, or this was a separate heat that we didn't see. Often these types of 1v1 challenges have more rounds than we actually see and are cut down in editing. Either way, this is an ejection I didn't even know happened until I was doing research for this video. Anyway, Val says this roughness was completely unintentional and, If there's one thing you can take a cop's words for, it's that their use of excessive force was accidental. At number 1, the most recent challenge ejection in Survivor history is Jake's ejection from On Shaky Ground, the final immunity challenge of Survivor 45. To understand why Jake was ejected from this challenge, we first have to look at the whole scope of Jake's game. Jake was Survivor 45's Charlie Brown. Every plan he set in motion flopped, every ally he had went home, he was constantly on the bottom and had no agency from the merge on. Dee just kept pulling that football away from Jake. Jake made it far, but only because at a certain point, he no longer threatened the Reba 4, and there was always a bigger fish to fry. He was an afterthought, and he knew this, and he got increasingly frustrated in the game with his lack of agency. By final immunity, he knows he's lost, but he just needs a win. Any win. Initially, this challenge, where you have to high step over this wobbly rope grid to stack a bunch of bowls, is Jake's to lose. But right at the end, he knocks his stack over, undoing all his progress and leaving the door open for Dee to best him yet again. Amid Probst's warnings, Jake begins stomping all over the challenge when trying to collect his fallen bowls and ends up snapping one of the ropes holding the obstacle, resulting in his ejection from the final immunity challenge for his temper tantrum. It's a bit childish, but I actually think most people can probably empathize with Jake here. The game had beaten him down for weeks, and on the cusp of a win, he managed to snatch defeat from the jaws of victory. And to add insult to injury, Dee wins the challenge, snatching the football away from him one last time. Jake smashing this challenge was a chain of events a long time coming, beginning 20-odd days ago when he was on the bottom of Bellow, and continuing through his post-merge game where he got increasingly frustrated. Or maybe this is just how dudes from Boston walk everywhere. I'm actually not sure. Got nothing else for ya. Don't choke me out in the attack zone. Check me out on YouTube and like and subscribe, and I'll get you more Survivor content just like this. Until next time, don't get idled out.